What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first episode, the ABCs of TPBs. I am one of your hosts, Seed.
This is Ninja Dave.
So, ABCs of TPBs, man. It's a new show here on Paprika Network in association with the QC Cinephiles, man. The Queen City Cinephiles. I am the Paprika half of this business. I guess you'd say you are the QC Cinephiles. I'm
the queen. I mean, if anyone's a drama queen, it's definitely be me.
Would you say you're the king of the Queen City?
I guess I would say that. I could easily go with that. Yes.
There's no hesitation whatsoever.
No. It rolls off the tongue rather nicely. That's
the
what
king of Queen City. I like it. So do you want to tell the people a little bit about what we're going to do here on the ABCs of the TPB, sir?
Yes. We have gone through our extensive collections of comic books and decided we wanted to focus on trade paperbacks exclusively. Mm-hmm. And going through this list of ABCs, it's an alphabetical order where we're going to choose a different book from each letter. Just go through this list. We're going to talk about them one episode at a time, ad nauseum.
One episode at a time. I'm hoping. So, I think we said this is going to be a bi-weekly joint, so we'll get 2 of these a month.
Yep.
That'll give you 50 some odd episodes.
That's my maths. My maths
are
weak,
great.
Man.
Yeah. Hopefully, at the end of all that, then we can start right back over at A. Keep this going for a while. So
yeah.
First, we start at the beginning, man. We're gonna go with the A's, man.
We're gonna skip the numbers this time. We're gonna start with the actual letter A.
Skipping with the numbers. I think we said that we might come back to numbers at the very end after the Z.
Yeah.
That gives me more than enough time to scramble to figure out what I'm gonna do for that particular episode.
500, 100 bullets. You got stuff to choose from.
All sorts of stuff to choose from.
Yeah.
I brought to the table for the A's the Autumnlands, Tooth and Claw from Image Comics. So this is how we're going to roll this. This is going to be a show in 2 segments. In one segment, we're going to talk about one of our picks. In the second segment, we're going to talk about the other pick. And then kind of as a rating, it'd be like a go or no-go, I guess, where you would decide whether or not you would read a volume 2 of my story, and I decide whether or not I'd read a volume 2 of your story.
All right.
How's this going to go? So we're starting off with the Autumnlands, my first one.
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Busick, who's a wonderful man on Twitter, and Benjamin Dewey is the dude doing the artwork on this. So just looking at the cover, Volume 1, Tooth and Claw is just looking at the cover. If you were in the comic book store, was this something that would catch your attention? Would you stop and say, "Oh, what's this all about?"
I think it would catch my attention because it's the cover is done. It's got a white background. Kind of has a soldiers kind of in the not in the foreground, but in the kind of blending in with the background as well. Kind of a brownish hue. Everything in the foreground though is in a red hue with some darker colors as well. And it's I'm looking at it, I see a man running with a sword. He's about to swipe at a giant. This is a buffalo.
Yeah,
a buffalo, like a humanoid buffalo.
Yeah, like an anthropomorphic.
Anthropomorphic, yes. Yeah. That's you used the right words. and also in the foreground, you see other anthropomorphic characters from allegedly the book as well. So I mean, it caught my eye because it's a little different. Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Mouse Guard and kind of the style.
Yeah.
But the detail with clothing and all that is just I would pick this up. I would at least thumb through it.
I am a sucker for a good anthropomorphic story. BoJack Horseman is one of my favorite shows on Netflix.
I love that show. It actually it insulted the reader, like the viewer, for like the first season, but then it built towards something just incredible. It was they insulted in a good way though.
Yeah, in a good way. I bought this at a con, I do believe. So I picked up what I think is a very good trade for a very good price. You want to get into? So I guess I'll give you about a bit of an overview.
Yeah.
Of what's going on here. So Autumnlands is a land where obviously anthropomorphic animals are running things, where magic exists. Magic tends to be failing.
It is a finite resource.
It is a finite resource, which kind of reminds me of Spawn. I do believe his magic was also a finite resource as well, so I had to use it sparingly. So, in order to bring magic back, they have the idea of visiting. I guess we consider for this age a old wives' tale, if you will, of bringing the champion back. Maybe bring the champion back.
It's a legendary tale.
Legendary champion.
A story retold through time.
Yeah, it would be almost like us trying to bring like Lancelot back,
right,
or something like that for whatever purposes. Maybe for purposes of finally making a good King Arthur movie.
A good King Arthur movie.
Yeah. And you know, I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say that's exactly what happens. It's what happens after that,
right,
is where and the toll that's enacted to bring this champion back is really what the heart of this story is.
Now I'll say, you know, even seeing this cover here, I got a good portion into this. Pardon my.
Someone at work just had the exact same ringtone.
Yeah? This is just an alarm, just to make sure that I got here on time.
Oh, it's awesome.
You know, I tried to be here early. I mean, this we were supposed to just meet up at this time.
You know, we were starting at the time.
We're
I like it.
No CP time here. actually, it is CP time, but it's on time.
It's two CPs.
Two CPs, yeah.
Still on time. But what were you saying?
But what was I saying? Talking about the cover, and you know, the cover kind of gives you the spoiler of who the champion is right away. But even with that being the case, I just kind of forgot what was going on with this initial cover. I ran right into the story, let it lead me through, and I was genuinely surprised at who the champion was revealed to be.
Yeah.
And then when it was, and I was like, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense, and it's right on the cover.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, well, you know, but we'll get into that.
We'll get into that. So let's get into this a little bit. Like I said, this is written by Kurt Busiek, art by Benjamin Dewey, and I do believe they also had Jordi Belair on the colors, which colors are one thing I do F's with this this story. They got some good covers.
It's balanced very well. The whole thing reminds me a little bit of that. What's that comic strip that it's in like the Sunday comics, the ones that the one about the night, not Beetle Bailey, the one with the night. It's
there's one about a night.
Yeah, and it's like
Sir Charlie Brown.
No, it's not Sir Charlie Brown. It's anyway, I can't remember the name of it, but it reminds me of that kind of that style that it harkens back to the older. The sword and sorcery kind of style, even with some of the elements of storytelling, they'll go through a few pages of the traditional comic storytelling, and then it'll be a splash page that has kind of a scrolling type, and it's almost like you're reading a passage out of a book.
Yes.
To kind of set the stage for the next chapter.
I'm a huge fan of reading fantasy novels. I haven't read a whole lot of fantasy comic books. So this was a welcome surprise for me. I ingest a lot of my science fiction through comic books, but not too much fantasy. So the main character we kind of follow through all this, I would say one of the two main characters, is Dunstan, which I am not well versed on dog breeds. Would you happen to have any idea what breed?
He's a terrier.
He's a terrier. Do they mention that in here?
They do.
I thought they did.
Yeah, closer to towards the end, but you know, I am a terrier, sir.
Oh, yes,
running is my So.
Dunstan, we follow throughout the series, and you know, we get a kind of a brief glance of a day in Dunstan's life, and you know, his dad kind of runs stuff, and right at the beginning of this is when all of the magicians, these magical animals from different parts of the Autumnlands, are kind of coming through to have I guess you would say like a council meeting.
Yeah, a powwow.
A powwow
of magical proportions.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of stuff that's discussed here, but what everybody wants to get to is the lack of magic in this world. Someone has a very radical idea of, hey, how about we bring the champion back?
The champion, we kind of made this world of magic possible to begin with, so why not just snatch him from the void and bring him here? So
yeah, and everybody. The one thing I really loved about this is who was it? Was it an owl that had this idea originally? No, it was a warthog.
It was a warthog.
A warthog. She has this idea. Dismissed out of hand immediately.
Even though she's like the upper echelon of and she's revered, she has a lot of honor and power. but it's kind of like she's from the old school. She was one of the originals, but because now they've developed all this hierarchy and all this political correctness, she's kind of like the old guard, and they're more prim and proper and less inclined to really give credence to her words.
Yeah. At the council itself, they're like, you're nuts for this. Mm-hmm. But what I really love is this scene right here where, after everything's all said and done, people are kind of just sitting around discussing her crazy harebrained idea, and it's all done in tight frames, very tight frames, so you can't see a whole lot of the background of what's going on. People
just kind of gives you that hushed, almost Game of Thrones behind closed doors, or just in confidence.
Yeah. Until they, they're like, oh, this is absolutely ridiculous idea, this, that, and the third. Until they pull out for a longer view, and all the people who are saying it's a ridiculous idea are in line to talk to her about such a thing. Yeah, it's one of the things Busick does that from time to time on some of his stuff, and I like whenever he pulls that business out. So they get down to it, man. They get down to it. What did you think about the magic system in this world?
Magic system was pretty interesting. I've read a lot of fantasy, and usually they have. It's very loosely defined. Yeah. It's not. I mean, it's almost fantastical, but I enjoy a good system. Mm-hmm. And from the kind of even just giving the way they've named things or how things are supposed to work in concert with other things, it seems to be laying a broader framework that could be revisited at a later date, so we can get kind of granular into it. Into how magic is done, because the Doctor Strange movie was that, this is really just kind of a life hack for changing realities and just kind of subverting it somewhat. Things like with Willow, it's just, hey, magic, boom, it happens. It's that kind of thing. So this is kind of like that middle ground where you kind of get a sense that there is something that there's a price to pay for wielding magic. Whether it's like energy concentrate or your own focus or that type of thing. There are things that have to be done in order to sustain and control and to wield magic. So I kind of like that, because it gives the world a bit more reality to it.
Yeah, right. One thing I love is just the names they come up with for some of this magic. It just sounds like it's pulling it out of his ass, whatever he's writing at the time.
Azeroth's bolts and that kind of thing,
and there's in order to bring the champion forward, the Warthog has pretty much gives you like an overview of, all right, this is what's going to happen. Yeah, you're going to hit him with this, you're going to hit him with this, and just some of the names here, like the Gauntlets of Faria, or Vandal's Tentacular Drift, or stuff like that.
Tell a spell of volvular dilation. It's just it's one of those things like, and they're capitalized and everything. So I mean, and other people reference them throughout the book too. So it's like, these things have some history, some established.
It's a very lived-in feel.
It is.
It is. The Pax Wintry winds and stuff like that, and of course, there's going to be a cat that's out there hating the whole time, and that's our boy Sandor's too. Is he an owl?
He's an owl.
He's an owl. Okay. Yeah. So we're following these dudes that are trying to bring the champion back. Mm-hmm. Would you say that this was overly successful
in bringing the champion back?
Yeah.
I would say so, but not without, again, like with the magic system, not without cost, my friend.
Yeah, not without a lot of cost to it, and the cost is pretty much a good bit of their homelands, or at least the homelands that are above the area that they decide to.
Right. There are floating cities that many of these denizens dwell in, well above their essentially their slaves who live on the ground below. That's another thing that's introduced into this book, is that caste system. Mm-hmm. You get that sense of that really early on to it. You got the magicians, those who can wield magic, and then those below who can fashion things out of magic, but they're not professionals. It's more like they're just using it for bartering and keeping their homes warm and that type of thing. So yeah, you get a sense of that really early, that the ground dwellers really hate the air dwellers.
Yeah, and we see that specifically with the bison.
Yeah,
that that Dunstan's dad deals with early on, and that's kind of Buse's way of showing the relationship between what's above and what's below, so that when those above do end up below, that sets the stage for some wild shit to go down. Those that are the labor class, let's say, might have seen opportunity to bring the pain to the magicians who have paid a great price to bring this champion back. I do believe I think the term is the Pyrrhic victory, where where you succeeded your mission, but you lost so many resources that
it's almost not as worth it. Yeah,
it's not even worth the effort. And I think that's a good idea of what we get here. But we do get the great champion.
You do.
And I think it's right about the time. Yeah. So the Bison have noticed that things are not quite going the magician's way, and they choose that opportunity to attack, which is when we get to see the champion do his thing a bit,
Now again, I wasn't, because I had seen the cover, but I just got moved beyond that. I didn't have. I was a bit surprised and somewhat dismayed at the reveal of the champion, but I thought they did a very unique thing with him. I'll just go ahead and say it, that he came from a time of advanced science.
Right.
And the event that happens, the event that they snatch him away from, is apparently the event that led to the creation of magic. And so it's very interesting to see. Usually when you reach into the past, you think about less advanced, that type of thing. But this is a more advanced civilization, and then events that transpire spell the end for that civilization, and then the rise of a new one. New one. So I thought that was an interesting hook an interesting angle that they took for that one.
I'll be interested to see if this is volume 1. Obviously, there's a volume 2 that came out last year. I'll be interested to see if they delve deeper into the past, and we get to see how animals can it be. Like, we don't know when the time they pull him from, it's all humans running things, and we don't see any anthropomorphic animals.
Right.
I'm wondering if we will eventually get to see, was it the rise of magic that also brought the rise of anthropomorphic animals, or what the case may be.
All right.
I do.
It's possible, and it's possible that they may not even gloss over that, because honestly, it's not crucial to the story. It's crucial more to the champion. But like I said, we've seen some flashbacks of his civilization within this trade. But I'm not quite sure that it's necessary to tell the story.
It's not necessary for the story, I don't think, but I think it's such a drastic shift from what we see the Champions world, and I would like to see how that drastic shift came about. Or maybe maybe some of those events that transpire lead to some of the decision making that the champion has. Is he a product of that environment, or all that kind of stuff. And then at the end of that first, we see that fox. Wolf?
It is a fox.
Yes.
I mean,
fox doing what foxes do.
Because foxes are wily.
Foxes are wily. We see a quite opportunistic fox that sees these bison about to strike.
Yeah, I mean that's one of those. I mean, so the tropes in this book, they're not. I mean, they're ones that you've seen before, but they're used to such great effect. You don't worry about those things. I mean, you see the opportunistic bureaucrat, Sandors, who wants to take over everything and just take credit for everything good.
Yeah.
You see the hopefuls. You see the younglings that are looking to make a difference but being ignored. You see the new guy who's out of time and out of his wits, and just kind of brought into the fray. So it's like I said, there are a lot of classic tropes, but they're used to great effect.
Yeah, and brought into the fray, he is like a mofo. He comes out hard. He makes quick work of these attacking bison.
Almost to the point where, I mean, they're talking about how small he is and how hairless and all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't understand how he did that either.
Naked, nonetheless.
Naked.
There's nothing worse on this planet than fighting while naked.
Right.
It's you're vulnerable to everything.
Everything. But then also, have you ever fought someone who was naked?
Have I ever fought someone who was naked?
Exactly.
Thankfully, no.
Well, see, there you go. That's part of it right there. If you're about to fight somebody and they strip down naked, you're like, nah, I'm okay. I'm no. Let's resolve this peacefully.
Well, I don't think I would let it get that far. First of all, if he's like, let's fight, and he takes off the shirt, I'm like, all right, he's getting comfortable. As soon as he kicks off the shoes, starts taking off the pants, I'm letting it stop right there. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm just saying. You don't want to fight someone who's naked.
Not even letting it get that far.
Yeah,
psychological thing.
Yeah.
So throughout the course of this bit of business, we've got there's the intrigue and all that kind of stuff. A great number of them distrust the champion because, like you said before, he's very small, very hairless. They didn't know what to think about this guy, but
and he doesn't seem to know what the hell's going on.
He has no idea what that's. Right. Actually, matter of fact, he might be my favorite character in this whole story because he's
he gives no fucks at all times.
He gives no fucks. He's very raw with how he communicates.
Yeah, it's not the side I chose, but the side I'm on. That's kind of his deal.
Yeah. So then it's pretty much this whole first volume was a race against the clock. Mm-hmm. Can these bison wipe them out before help arrives for the rest of them? Mm-hmm. And that's what it seems to all be building towards. It's all building towards a showdown between the bison, who I would assume represents all of the lower class, not just the bison, but right. they are the ones who decide to make a difference or enact some kind of change, versus the champion and his group of magic users, those who are willing to fight with
the magic aristocrats.
Magic aristocrats is a very good way of describing it. And then of course the great showdown happens. What do you think about the art in this joint, man?
The art, it's solid. It's like I said, it looks believable. There were no times when I thought that art, like a failing artwork, took me out of it. I thought everything kind of flowed very well, and I think that's to his credit, because you get a writer and a specific writer and a specific artist working on a book together. It has that consistent look and feel, that flow to it. When you kind of swap artists out, that's when it kind of becomes a bit disjointed. But I'm thankful for this because they're working together, and it's a consistent feel throughout the entire thing. The close-ups, the colorations, the lack of color, the burst of sunlight. It's just well done.
Very well done.
And it's one of those. I mean, it kind of gives me that feeling of when I would just read fantasy novels, or when I was starting to read fantasy, and there were a lot of picture books, and when you see a big splash page like Conan the Barbarian type stuff, and it's just it feels. It gives me that feeling that of that, and it kind of brings back a little bit of childlike glee, a little bit, I guess you could say. So I enjoy reading this and looking at the art and then appreciating it. Throughout.
What do you think about these? You mentioned earlier the passages. I guess you could say that start each chapter excerpt from some fictional novel.
And lo, the great champion. Such and such. Yeah, it's just it adds to the lore, because it's like there's already the legend of the champion. You have that, and you have something that's going on currently. But even with that, those preceding passages, those splash pages with a wall of text, it establishes, it's like a running lore. It's like a bard is recording what's going on. And it's just beautiful. Like I said, when those splash pages, they're done a slightly different art wise from the rest of it. This is more of a kind of a painted Bob Ross kind of big, like a big still, and look like something you would see on a book cover. Almost. Yeah.
Like an old school fantasy novel.
Yeah. I thought it was this book is full of those nice details and those nice touches. It's very, very stylish.
6 issues, man. 6 issues for volume 1, and they are 6 meaty issues. Like,
they're very meaty.
This is a thicker volume 1, I think, than most.
It took me a while to get through it. Like I said, I tore through that first half, and I was like, all right, I got to take a breather, and then I'll get into the rest of it. And like I say, my daughter, she tore through it all in one sitting.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. So.
That's never bad. So let's get down to the brass tacks of this joint, man.
All right.
Is there anything before we do that? Is there anything that you found off-putting? Is there anything in here that you're like, any stories, any particular characters that?
It was just of the reveal of who the champion was. They put enough hints out there, and of course it's revealed on the cover as it is. But I was just feeling, why couldn't the champion be any other thing except for this guy? This is kind of what you'd expect. I was looking for something a little bit different. Mm-hmm. They went with the classic option, but they tweaked it just enough to make it to bring kind of to keep me interested in that.
Okay.
But I think that would be the only thing. I like the way they pulled it off. This story is intriguing, and I do want to read the next one. I regret that when we were at the Minicon this weekend, I didn't look for Autumnlands in the trade paperbacks we were thumbing through.
I want to say it was either last year's Minicon or the year before last's Heroes Con is where I picked this bad boy up at. And it was one of those joints that was in the $5, and I was like, oh man, what is this all about?
How long has the series been out?
That is a good question. I know Volume 2 dropped like January of 2017, so it came out like a year ago. I think this might have been like 2015.
Okay, that's probably a good bit of stuff.
This is July 2015.
Okay.
So you are officially giving it the pass. It's getting the Ninja Dave pass.
The Ninja Dave pass.
The Ninja Dave pass.
Yes, it passes. I would read more of it.
All right,
and I'm going to.
That makes two of us because I have not read Volume 2 either. Although I'm very much looking forward to it. It'd have been a while.
Do you have it?
No, I don't. Matter of fact, next payday, man, I might have to tip on down to a couple of comic book stores and see if they can pick this up.
I'm sure Rebel Base would have it.
Yeah. We'll have to check this out, man.
Yeah.
So that being said, man, we're gonna take ourselves a quick break before we get into the next segment, the Dave segment of this joint.
Yeah.
What's with all this secrecy, Smythe?
Good evening, Mr. Jameson.
Where's Spider-Man?
There he is, ready for your inspection.
Well, what do you know? I waited a long time to see you apprehended. Now let's see who's under that mask.
Hey, hold it. When was the last time you washed your hands?
Hey, what gives, Smythe?
It's obvious. It wants a mate, and you're the lucky guy.
You called me here to witness Spider-Man's capture.
I must admit, I had an ulterior motive.
What are you doing?
No, take it back. It clashes with the color of my costume.
A perfect fit. These indestructible manacles contain a powerful explosive. It's set to detonate in 1 hour.
Hey, don't look at me. Maybe you didn't deliver his paper this morning.
But are you nuts?
You have to ask.
You and your web-slinging friends' petty rivalries destroyed my father. His only dream was to see me walk again. A dream you both shattered.
Excuse me, but your father attacked me with a spider slayer.
Yeah, Smythe. You were in on that whole deal. Why don't you attach yourself to this bomb and leave me out of it?
Have you ever thought of becoming a family therapist?
All right, we are here. This is segment 2. We didn't announce what the second book was. We wanted it to be a surprise for you guys and gals out there. This one is The Authority, published by Wildstorm. You may know Wildstorm from way back when. This particular one is this version of Authority is scribed by Warren Ellis and drawn by Brian Hitch. Mm-hmm. We've got Paul Neary as the inker, Laura Dupuy of Wildstorm Effects with the colorist, Bill O'Neill as the letterer, Rachel Brissenden as the editor. And The Authority was created by Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch. They are given that credit to The Authority. So let me just kind of put this out here. The Authority. Mm-hmm. If you were to take the Justice League, mm-hmm. put them in the world and just say, okay, you answer to essentially no one but mm-hmm. yourselves, I think this is you would have The Authority.
Yes, I found The Authority when I was looking for alternatives to the big superhero teams. Like Avengers is my favorite superhero team of all time. Mm-hmm. Everybody fucked with the X-Men in the 90s. Right. That's just the thing you did. Right. And then there's the Justice League. So
and there's the Justice League.
There's the Justice League. So I wanted something a little, I guess I would say, off the beaten path.
Sure.
and Comixology was having a sale, so that's how I came to the Authority, and boy, am I glad I did.
Fair enough. Now, how long have you been reading the Authority?
Oh, man.
Since its inception, perhaps?
No.
This is 1999.
Yeah, I read this sometime last year.
Okay.
For the first time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it still grabbed you then?
Yeah, it grabbed me.
It's interesting for me because I look at a lot of the techniques, tropes kind of used here, and I see that they've been reused so often in, like, even in the live action movies. Try to make things more realistic and people more gritty and that kind of thing.
This is really 1999.
99, man.
This does not feel like 1999 at all.
I mean, like I say, Warren Ellis, he's one of my favorite writers. Anyway, he's a crazy old coot.
He's a
and I got a chance to get I got my Trade of the Authority Volume 1 signed by him at my first Heroes Con years ago.
Oh, okay.
So he's a crazy old dude. But I love
was
his
he cool
stuff.
when he was
He was a right bastard, but he was cool with his fans.
Okay.
He just come on through. Hey, just sign the stuff. Keep on moving.
No time for small talk.
No time, not really.
That's pretty much.
He's got to get back to being crazy. But yeah, he was one of the ones that kind of pioneered this kind of no fucks given team.
Yeah. Okay.
It was kind of the team that it needed to be, and a lot of people didn't want to deal with these kind of topics back then because everyone was big on. This is before the whole accountability theme started to pop up in comic books, where if super heroes and villains clash, there's some kind of collateral damage. You typically didn't see that stuff start to happen until like the late 90s, where people were like, oh wait a minute, you can't just go and do whatever you want. You have to be accountable in some kind of way.
Yeah.
This group kind of just stepped on all of those toes by saying, we're taking over because you guys are doing a shitty job of it, and no one else can do what we can do.
Exactly.
Hence the Authority.
It's a very good name.
The book starts out with a terrorist attack on Moscow.
Yeah.
Superhuman terrorist attacks.
Yeah. It's craziness. Oh, one thing I really want to point out is in that one frame in particular, there's you see charred skeleton. I guess is the best you could say. And I was like, why does it look so familiar? That's Terminator 2.
Oh, nice.
They ripped it straight from Terminator 2 and flipped it over. And I was like, all right, I see what you're doing there. You're paying a little bit of film homage there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That looks good.
Or it might have been Brian.
Yeah, probably Brian. I mean, he probably did just say, hey, I need a charred skeleton.
Yeah.
And he skipped over Aunt Beru from
laid out.
Just laid it out. Like I need my charred skeleton to be a little more engaging. So I mean, artists do that all the time, man. They just grab images and like, hey, I'll do an homage, or I'll just kind of do something based on this.
Yeah.
But he drew it, so it's fucking awesome. It's cool that you mentioned you noticed that too.
I did.
But then it flashes forward to the world just kind of freaking out, and there's the group that was over Stormwatch before it was retired. Apparently some of the members of the Authority were part of Stormwatch, and that group was shut down. I did not go back and do the research to see why Stormwatch had been shut down.
Oh, I was just about to ask you that.
Yeah, I did not do that. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that something happened. They were held accountable, and someone manipulating from the shadows kind of engineered their downfall.
Okay, but as far as we know from this, was there an actual series for this, right?
Yeah,
and then that series came to an end.
Mm-hmm.
Stormwatch got shut down,
Yep.
and this is the continuation of that.
Yeah, Stormwatch. I believe Stormwatch was originally an Image property.
That's what I thought.
And it's like Image and Wildstorm. They just kind of did a split as well. So, So what happened with that original team? I just remember a lot of stuff from Image just being a bunch of pouches and poses.
When you get Bobby Liefeld in the mix, that's
Bobby Liefeld.
Well, we're on terms.
Yeah.
That's what you're gonna get.
Yeah. You guess. So I mean, that was kind of like the punk rock of the comic book age.
Image was the punk rock.
Yeah.
And now at 25 years old, Image is like the dad body.
Right.
Things a little more softer in the middle, but they can still put out some good shit.
They got the dad bod, but they're still out of proportion somehow. But the guys who were over Stormwatch, they were like lamenting, "Hey, we don't have a response team. What's going to happen?" And then Jenny Sparks, who is the leader of the Authority, she's the child of the Century. She has shown up and says, "Hey, we'll handle this. Give us the information you have, and we'll go from there." They don't need that information. They just want to essentially establish their presence in the world of saying, "Hey, we're the ones that are going to handle this stuff."
Yeah, I get a rapport going with these guys.
Yeah.
I found Jenny interesting. Like, is her power just being the spirit of the 20th? Is it 20th, 21st, 20th?
20th century.
Yeah, the spirit of the 20th century.
She has she is the spirit embodied, but she also has the ability, I believe, like just like Sparks, I think she has control over electricity and that kind of stuff. So, that's essentially. I mean, she lives. All the Century babies are, and that's a theme that you'll see. Like if you read Planetary and some other ones, there are other Century babies out there. They're born at the turn of a century, and they essentially,
live throughout the century.
They live throughout the century.
Okay,
so
dope.
Elijah Snow, if you haven't read Planetary, that's
I have not.
He's another one. So it's really good.
Okay,
that's maybe I think my P is Planetary.
All right, then I look forward to it.
We'll get to it. We're introduced to the main villain of this first arc, who I'm just going to go ahead and call him a poor man's Mandarin.
Yeah, he's exactly a poor man's Mandarin. But I fucking love this dude.
Oh yeah, why do you like him?
I think it's revealed in the second or the third segment when he's dealing with the UN. It's terror for terror's sake, and it is a very simple. You can even say it's one-dimensional type deal, but it's the way that Warren writes him. He's like, I don't do it because I want a bunch of money. I mean, dude owns an island. He already has a bunch of money. He does it simply because he can do it. And that's like, he's a gleeful villain. Like
he wants to etch like his symbol across the globe, like Chairface Chippendale.
Chairface Chippendale. Unfortunately, all he got was a CH and 787A.
Cha. He just wants to do it because he wants to climb the mountain because it's there.
Because it's there. On some Captain Kirk shit.
Yeah.
They give him some of these bombastic monologues and whatnot. And I just think he's like a dope dude.
Do you have like a favorite monologue from this guy?
Yeah, it's when he's talking to I'm not sure if it was a call or response or it was a monologue, but it was when he's talking to the UN dude and he's carving his logo into that woman's face.
Oh yeah.
It's
good
because I can.
It's because I can.
Well, actually, you know what? The very first time you meet him is a good monologue where you find out that he is the one that killed his brothers. And it's insinuated that him and his brothers got together and killed his father before that.
Yeah.
And it's treachery is their way.
Yeah. I'm looking at that right now. 70 years ago, the brothers Gamora were born into Parasia. Let's see here. Sum, Y, and Kaizen. By the age of 10, the brothers Gamora ran their village. By 16, they ran the country. By 18, they had remade Parasia as an island factory for terror. And by 20, I had killed my brothers, Sum and Y.
Craziness, man.
Right?
Craziness. It's good shit, man. It's good shit.
It is.
Yeah.
So gleeful. So, like I said, he's got this elite force of soldiers, superhuman soldiers, and he's just he literally is throwing them at cities to destroy them.
Yeah, I find that to be ridiculously insane of exploding suicide bombers.
Well, let's get into the characters on the Authority. So we've got Jenny Sparks. She's the spirit of the century. You've got Hawkmoor. Was it James Hawkmoor? Jack Hawkmoor, who can commune with cities. Essentially, is a city speaker.
Yeah.
You've got the engineer, who is she's got this kind of her blood and her armor is like this liquid metal, comprised of nanites and that kind of thing. So she can interface with just about any kind of machinery. You've got, what is her name?
I can never remember what her name is.
I want to call her Hawk Girl.
Hawk Girl.
Pretty much.
Her
name is Shin, but I forgot what her code name is.
She's got the least amount of development.
Yeah, she really does. I mean,
she's kind of there.
It's kind of like how it is with most characters with wings. It's like, you can fly. What else can you do?
Yeah. Angel's on the X team forever before they kind of give him any focus.
Right, they have to rip his wings out and make him an acolyte of Apocalypse before he got interesting, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
drastic measures.
Yeah, do something with these guys. But and then you have Apollo and the Midnighter. Let's just go ahead and cross over into right now, man. If you're ready to come out of the closet, I am.
I had no idea, man. I had absolutely no idea.
How many issues did you get in before you realized, wait a minute, Apollo and Midnighter, they're a couple?
So the version I have that I bought is 12 issues, is book 1. Mm-hmm. And I think for this purposes, we're just doing the first 4 because that's the storyline.
Right.
It might have been somewhere in like 10. Finally figured out, because I just spent the whole time thinking like, man, I like the rapport these two dudes have. I just thought they had a familiarity of having worked together for so long.
Right.
That's why they were the way they were. And I was like, oh no, it's because they're actually they're a couple.
They're lovers.
They're a couple. And I would say easily probably the 2 most popular characters. They're the only ones that got a spinoff.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much because you got this team that's very Avenger, more Justice League than Avenger, I would say.
Yes, pretty much so.
I mean, I would say almost go to the point where each member of this team is almost like a parody of the standard Justice League lineup. Midnighter and Apollo,
Superman and Batman.
Superman and Batman,
Easily.
And it's an interesting dynamic, which you typically see Superman and Batman at odds in a different way, but then you have this relationship when and like they're working together, but they're also at odds, and that couple spats and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's an interesting dynamic, and it's kind of one of those. It'd be really cool to see Batman and Superman have this kind of relationship,
and they do now currently.
Not a lovers relationship.
Not a lovers relationship, but they're being
buddy
portrayed as basically best friends right now, which is Lois and Clark are going on double dates with Bruce and Selena, and that kind of stuff, which is pretty damn cool to see. I mean, having seen, thanks to Frank Miller, we had Batman Superman at odds for damn near 30 years because they just kept dick riding Frank Miller's work, and now Tom King writing that finally is giving us a different side of that relationship, and fans have really been responding well to it.
That's good.
And but in the midst of all of that Batman Superman contention that started back in the 80s, in 1999, we have the same thing but juxtaposed here.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Like I said, I could never see DC doing a gay Batman and Superman.
No.
But they have that in the form of Midnighter and Apollo. So
we also have the Doctor as well. I think that's the only other person we haven't mentioned.
Yes.
And shamans. That's this is a weird set of powers for a lineup.
It's a hodgepodge, and it's when you think about it, the team shouldn't really work that well together.
No.
But I think what really makes this team effective is we'll call the next character of the team is the Carrier.
Yeah,
it's a sentient ship that's powered by an exploding baby universe, and it just sails this kind of right on the other side of reality, like in a separate dimension, and it allows them to essentially teleport to wherever they need to on Earth or other places as well.
They're everywhere at once.
So I mean, without the Carrier, I think this team wouldn't be as effective.
Oh no! I think the Carrier is an effective thing that Warren came up with.
Mm-hmm. Now you've seen the. You've read a lot of the Justice. Well, you haven't really read Justice League stuff, but you know that they have like their watchtower, and they use teleportation, like the boom tubes that Darkseid. They like co-opted that technology, and so that's how they get around. Yeah. And then, like I said, their team has become more effective because of that. Because if you had to fly or travel to any of these locales, you spend most of the time just in transit.
You hear that, X-Men? It's about time to step y'all's game up.
Right,
yeah,
right. Get out of that Blackbird, man. That's fucking up most of your stuff, man. By the time you guys get there, it's over.
Yeah. They're there specifically to help clean up.
Exactly.
But yeah, this is a damn good story, and then I like when we first get introduced to the Carrier. It's either you have to turn the book if you're reading the book that way, just to get a good full view of
a good sense of it. Because and even that's one of those things that even if you look at it and you study it from different angles, you still can't make out what the fuck it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm right side up right now, or if I'm right side up right now, or if I'm right side up right now.
Exactly. It's just it's all spaces and all at all times.
Yeah, I mean, up and down is just all relative in the first place.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting that this group came together and is effective as this group. You have, Apollo, who's essentially the Superman level power.
Yeah,
he can fly. He can do like heat beams. He's a super strong. You got Midnighter, powered by the sun. Midnighter, who it's not explained here, but later on it's revealed he has 2 hearts. He's been genetically tampered with. He's got he can run so many different scenarios in his mind of a fight that he knows what you're going to do before you do.
Yeah. Basically, very effective hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah, and then you got Jack Hawksmoor, who, like I say, he can touch down. He's also had he's been gutted by aliens and had new tech put inside of him, so he's able to essentially get the pulse of a city, communicate with the city, and get the city to kind of rearrange based on his whims.
Mm-hmm. And the amount of heads this dude punches through.
Yeah, he's a head puncher. Like I say, he's got a lot of if you read the series more, he's got a lot of anxiety to work out of the system.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like all the characters have some interesting quirks about them that, like I say, with the Doctor, for instance, he's one in a long line of. Right, right when I turn the page, there's Jack punching somebody's head off. And the Doctor he's one in a long line of doctors, each one tasked with protecting Mother Earth.
Yeah.
And this character. He's been like just last week he was a junkie. He was strung out on something.
Mm-hmm.
He has a very addictive personality, but he was chosen. And now he's got to deal with this as well as his addiction.
Yeah, I think in these first 4 issues, the first kind of adventure that they have, I think even as you progress further and further on, he is kind of the first couple issues. He's the through line for me.
Yeah.
No one else has any real growth besides the Doctor.
I can see that.
Finding his confidence.
Mm-hmm. Everyone else is like they're already doing their stuff. They're more at trying to trust and rely on each other.
Yeah, I know you were saying that one thing that makes them a good effective team is the carrier being like the central node. I think it's just pure necessity of finding this dude.
Yeah,
is also like, look, we got to figure this out and work together.
Right, because like I said, our world is hell in a handbasket if we don't do something.
Yeah,
it's even mentioned that Apollo and Midnighter come out of retirement to join this team.
Yes, yeah, they were very happy. Were they still working like back alleys in America, or did they retire from that too?
Well, no, they retired from that because Midnighter was more I'm handling street level crime type stuff, kind of like Batman.
So was that his retirement? Like, was his retirement handling street level crime, or he just wasn't doing anything?
He wasn't doing anything. So he and Apollo, they were just essentially, I won't say eloped, but they just went off together.
They did their own thing. So have you read any of the Apollo Midnighter?
I have.
All right. Mm-hmm. Is that them working in the alleyways?
No.
Or is this all sorts of wacky adventures?
This is all wacky adventure stuff.
Okay. Cool.
And you should also read the Midnighter solo series when they break up.
Mm-hmm. Oh no!
I know, right?
No.
And so he's just doing his thing, and it's interesting.
Okay.
You should read that too.
All right.
You're still invested in these characters already. You're thinking about the breakup. No, this can't happen.
They are very effectively written.
Well, I mean, this is comics we're talking about.
Yeah,
it's like it's one big soap opera.
People
break up, get back together, die, come back to life.
Yeah, been doing this for 80 years.
Yeah. They'll keep doing it. But yeah, a lot of this book, because I would say that it hasn't aged as well because we've seen so much stuff like it since in current media and that kind of thing. So it's kind of like if you're out there listening right now and you were to pick up the Authorities, the trade that we're referring to, you see a lot of things that you're already familiar with. Things that have already been brought to light in the Avengers movies and even in the Justice League movie. A lot of those tropes and a lot of those we have to make these tough decisions and that kind of thing. But these guys, they make no qualms about it. Whereas you'll see in the Avengers or the Justice League, there's at least a question of morality.
Yeah,
these
it's like struggle doing the right thing.
Yeah, these guys don't hesitate to kill anyone at any time.
Yes,
this is what needs to happen. Let's get through this wave and take out the source.
Yeah, I'm actually a big fan of that. That's part of the reason that they don't hesitate to make that hard decision if it needs to be made. They're very much for the greater good type people.
Yeah.
You're gonna take out about 1,000 people, but we're about to save 10,000.
They're like a superpowered SEAL Team 6.
Pretty much.
It's just they know what needs to be done. All other casualties, just they're secondary to the goal.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll stop. I'm trying to think if they actually stopped to save civilians or if it was just
I remember nothing of that.
Right? It's just
there is mention that how many civilians died, but even that is negated by somebody quickly points out right to that how many they saved.
Right.
Like I don't remember a single mention of
they're just too busy kicking ass to save other people. They're saving people by kicking ass.
Yeah, the Midnighter does save a child at one point.
That is, that's,
but I think he's more just put the child down so I can wax that ass real quick.
Right. He was like, you can put the child down or not. I'm still gonna take you to task.
Yeah, pretty much.
But there was one time that Midnight was fighting someone. He's like, you'll be dead by the time I finish this sentence. And the next panel is a dude lying dead. And he's just standing there. I was like, oh my god. So it's just. Midnighter is one of my all-time favorite characters. He's like Batman unhinged. Yeah. Batman with superpowers unhinged.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But yeah, it really is just a bunch of ass kicking throughout the issue. I mean, you get enough story. The villain saying, maybe I'm underestimating them. What if I unleash this? Maybe I. Cover my base in a force field, kind of thing. You can just see him just pulling on his much as Fu Manchu, But they're just essentially fighting the entire time. There's great back and forth dialogue too.
Yeah.
That scene where the Doctor saved Apollo from smashing into the force field.
Yes, very nice.
Very
nice. I like what the Doctor has to do with his. He does gain his confidence throughout this, and you just see he lets Apollo know. Like, hey, look, I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing it. And Apollo doesn't bother to question him either.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just like kind of thanks.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for not making me a 2-mile wide red smear.
Right. I see. Like I said, in this panel, this kind of stuck out to me because I have friends who they've dealt with like different levels of addiction, that kind of thing, and knowing that about the Doctor's character, I see him in this panel. While he and Apollo are in that separate dimension. Just kind of chilling out. He's taking a drink of water there. And I've had friends that have said to me, hey, to get over this addiction, I did the water challenge. I was like, well, what's the water challenge? And they're like, well, I keep a bottle of water with me. Whenever I feel those cravings, I take a sip.
Huh, interesting.
So I was like, maybe that's kind of a...
Yeah, that's what they're alluding to.
Yeah. So I never know. You never know. Like a lot of different details like that. You never know.
Yeah.
So,
and shout out to Brian Hitch art as well.
Yeah,
his art can be iffy with me sometimes.
It can be iffy. It's not quite. What's his name? Frank Quitely's stuff, where it's like they're all are masculine. They're like the all same gender.
Yeah,
everyone's got the square jaw. Like it's not that. It's not that.
I'm not a fan.
There's delineation, but I will say that like Frank Quitely, there is a quality that Hitch's artwork kind of looks very similar, very nondescript kind of. I mean, because like in this section here where you see Apollo, and it's kind of a generic kind of deal,
Yeah. I guess.
But
some artists only draw so many faces.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they're working with here. I mean, the book does carry a certain. Well, let me just ask you. I'm saying all this stuff, but how do you feel about the art style?
This is better here than his Justice League artwork that he ended up doing. just a couple of years ago. That is what kind of took me out of that story, because he wrote and did the art for that Justice League run. The
I'd
story
have to see
itself,
that to compare.
yeah, the story itself is amazing, but that art is this art is better in comparison, I think. I don't know if it's because he had more time, because he's not writing and doing the penciling and inking. But yeah, I dig this art here, and I see that book 2 of this is, speaking of Frank, is written by Frank or drawn by Frank Wiley, I think, with Mark Millar. Right?
Mark Millar, yeah. Tell us how you really feel.
No, I'm a fan of Mark Millar. I'm not a big fan of Frank Wiley at all. At all. Although that being said, I think there's one Frank book that will be popping up later on down in this series, but we'll get to that when we get to it.
I will say this, that I think the only book, I mean, the Superman book of that he did with that Quietly did, I tolerated that just because of the story. The story really carried that one.
Is that All-Star Soups?
The All-Star.
Yeah.
And then when he was also on the all new X-Men,
oh no!
I'm just saying, to me it worked for the X-Men universe, because the stuff that was going on there was weird, and everyone that he drew looked weird. So I was like, you know what, I can kind of go with that. You know,
fair enough.
All the women, all the men look the same. Come on, guy, take a anatomy class or something. Maybe he was the first proponent for what's the word when you have no visible gender?
Asexual?
Not asexual, but it's not anthropomorphic. What's the word I'm looking for it? You know, I'm gonna Google this right now on the air. We're not gonna even edit this out.
We're not gonna edit this out. So while you Google out, I'll go back to our kind of our one note villain, and he is kind of a one note villain. I think it's in the third story. That's where we get to him talking to United Nations, and that's pretty much where he gets his villainous monologue and the whole, you know, I do it because I can, that's when I was like, you know what, I'm on board with this dude. He's simple about his demands, and he gets to it. When it comes to the overall plot, there's no big mystery here. It's pretty much just like, dude wants to carve his
androgynous. All of his kids.
David Bowie
looks androgynous, right? I should have just said David Bowie.
My mind equates David Bowie to androgynous.
All right.
When someone throws that word out there, my mind immediately just translates that to David Bowie.
Fair enough.
So to swing you back off of David Bowie.
Yes, let's bring it back.
Stop trying to do Bowie's career.
I'm trying
to. Just trying to carve his symbol into the world, which. I mean, I'm not sure, like why, there's no real end goal there. Like, what happens if he succeeded? You'd have 3 fucked up cities that would rebuild, and then would he just sit back and be like, well, I guess I'll go into banking now.
That's the thing, you know, when you're dealing with a madman, and not madman, a madman. When you're dealing with a madman, it's like you let them get away with one thing, and then all of a sudden the world is their oyster. They'll just start doing all kinds of stuff. They're slashing prices down at the Kmart. Madness!
I'm buying everybody Porsches.
Stop him!
All right,
he's
fair.
Making prostitution free. Oh
no! Maybe we should hear this guy out a little bit. So yeah, what do you think about this whole you get to the whole final battle and all that kind of good stuff?
The final battle, I mean, it's one of those things. It's I kind of I think when I was originally reading this, it was new for the time. But yeah, he essentially Midnighter. Do you want to spoil it?
This is your segment, sir.
This is my. Well, I'm gonna spoil it. Midnighter just is like, hey, I'm really good at hitting things. So you know, this guy has his force field up, and he's got his city, and they're he's mass producing all these clones, superpowered clones to destroy things. I just want to take this thing out. So he just takes the ship and just rams it into it.
Yeah.
Simple.
A simple solution. Simple solutions.
I mean, a lot of people complain about, the superheroes always end things by punching. I'm like, that's 90% of what they do.
Sometimes it works.
You want to stop somebody, knock them the fuck out.
The most basic plan that you can. And if that doesn't work, you kind of spool it up from there.
All right.
I like that we really see what the Doctor does in that final battle. Like, his, I guess you call it transmutation.
Mm-hmm.
If he takes something to destroy, he has to take that energy to create something else. He has to move it from point A to point B,
Right.
of some kind.
Mass cannot be destroyed. It has to be, was it converted?
Yeah,
To be,
converted pretty much. Yeah, and you know, and his solution for the conversion is, you know, a simple one. You know,
Right.
Yeah, and just throw some trees in there.
Throw some trees. I mean, we need more trees anyway. I'm looking for this.
Yeah, I think this is what, LA. Yeah, so I mean, LA ain't got no trees.
Yeah.
It's all just the 105.
Yeah. It's just, you know, I kind of feel like the artwork kind of improved over the course of this run too, and in places.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I've always loved about Warren Ellis's writing is the way he writes. It's almost like he writes as though there's that established history, and it begs the reader to kind of ask those questions of what's going on with this, what's this guy's deal, what's
Yeah.
And he drops those things in there that really helps to flesh out the world, because you do half the reader does half the world building just by asking those questions that Warren poses.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm. Warren making us do the heavy lifting.
Oh yeah. I mean, imagination.
The final, the final time we see the villain might be the best panel in the whole thing.
I only wanted to have some fun.
That's a hell of a last couple of words to go out on.
Yeah, I mean, what else? I mean, what else could you have? You can say, "Oh shit," but then that's not memorable.
That's not memorable at all. Yeah.
It's just, it's well done.
Yeah, it's very well done. Yeah, and then this is a good primer. It's pretty much an all action primer to kind of draw you into the world, and you get a good sense of who the team is, and then you can really start rolling out your stories from there.
It's good. Would you continue reading this?
Oh, I have continued reading, sir. Yeah, I'm glad you chose The Authority for this, because I was already thinking about rereading it anyways, because it's, like I said, it was sometime last year that I read it, and you were like, yeah, I think my age can be Authority, and I was like, I finally have my excuse to sit
My
down.
man.
Yeah, my man. I've read 1 through 12, which comprises book 1, and then I saw that book 2 was drawn by Frank Wiley, and I was like, I might just stop it at 1.
Right.
But yeah, the story. I like the fact that there's no real like long through line, like the recurring villain keeps coming back to blah blah blah. It's just these 4 or 5 issues is one adventure. These 4 or 5 issues is one adventure. These 4 or 5 one adventure.
I mean, because they're lethal, man. I mean, like any villain they come up against that is worth their salt, they just go ahead and kill them.
Yeah. It's a one and done, and it keeps it
It's
moving.
hard to have a rogues gallery when you KO, give everyone the kibosh, you know.
So yeah, man. Yeah. It's definitely worth you, the reader, worth checking out if you've not checked it out already.
Fair enough.
Man, that's
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Oh yeah. That's a good call. That's good. Do we want to tease what the B's are gonna be, sir? Do you think?
I think we can tease. I think we're good at teasing.
We're good at teasing. What do you have your B already? You have your B already?
I have my B. And it's
it's right in front of me.
it's an unconventional B.
All right.
I'm leaving this B with you. Everyone, their mom's always expecting a B to be Batman. But this particular Batman is Batman versus Predator, the collected edition.
All right, then.
Let's just give a thumb through some of that stuff, man. How would you imagine the Dark Knight might respond to one of those hunters from outer space?
I quickly would assume that Batman would figure out the thermal shit before Dutch does in the movie. Batman, that's like opening credits for Batman. Right. It's just how does he proceed with it from here? So that's gonna be it's gonna be interesting to read.
I kind of like. I mean, usually the Predator is a good foe to throw up against just a random person, but I do love some of those wacky random mashups.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the mashups like Star Trek and the Green Lantern. I'm like, those guys really?
That's a little different because that's not even on. They're not even on the same level. You know why even do that?
But you're saying Batman and the Predator are on the same level?
Batman and the Predator. It's like I said, it gets down to brass tacks.
All right. Well, I guess the Predator is is a natural hunter, and Batman is a great detective. So
right, great detective as well as a skilled fighter and a tactician.
Himself, yeah. So it's going to be interesting. Dave Gibbons, Andy and Adam Kubert. Yeah, I think I'm on board with this.
All right.
As far as my B, I think I'm going Black Widow. Man.
Black Widow.
Yeah,
I don't have much experience with her. I've seen her in some books, mostly when she was double crossing someone, triple crossing.
Well, that's what spies do, isn't it?
Well,
yeah. So I'll make sure you depart with that book as well.
All right, I'm looking forward.
And we will be back in 2 weeks to get down on these bees.
That's right. Gotta drop some bows on these bees.
Drop some bows on these bees. That's gonna do it, man, for the first episode of the ABCs and TPBs.
Give us your thought, your feedback.
And
email
some
us.
suggestions too, man.
Yeah. Just make some comments, leave some comments, and it's whatever.
Yeah, get back to us, man. Until then, you guys take it easy and have a good one out there.
Peace.